Hello, I'm Thomas Carruthers.
I'm Will Leggetter.
And today we have a very special guest. We have, well, why don't you introduce yourself, Sam?
I'm Sam Mandi-Ghomi. It's a pleasure to meet everybody.
It's yes, this is the first time we've met. This is a chat roulette. Sam, have you seen Misery?
I have seen
Oh, well, we're in luck then. It's a good job that we landed on you. We are continuing our fortnight celebration of the wonderful screenwriter William Goldman. This is our first film. That's a lie. This is our third film. We've done Butch Cassidy. We've done All the President's Men. And today is Misery.
You almost died. You have a compound fracture of the tibia in both legs, and the fibula in the right leg is fractured too. And as soon as the road's open, I'll take you to a hospital. In the meantime, you've got a lot of recovering to do. There is nothing to worry about. You're gonna be just fine. I'm your #1 fan. My name is Annie Wilkes.
I think one of my clients, Paul Sheldon, might be in some kind of trouble.
You mean Paul Sheldon, the writer? Well, everybody sure likes those misery books.
They had it at the store, Paul.
They said he checked out last Tuesday. Isn't that a little strange?
I guess it was kind of a miracle you finding me.
In a way, I was following you.
You were following me?
Oh, Paul, I've read everything of yours, but the misery novels. You must be a good man, or you could never have created such a wondrous, loving creature as Misery Chastain.
Very kind.
The presumption must now be that Paul Sheldon is dead.
You dirty bird.
Obviously from the much celebrated Stephen King novel from the, I can't remember, but it's the mid-80s or the late 80s. I've got it here to hand.
When did the film come out?
The film was 90. The film was 90, and the book, look at that man. Love a good.
What a bloke. Do you want to guess? Should we guess as to when it came out? I'll go for 81.
81. Will?
Oh, I'll go 83.
I think it's 86. It was 87.
87.
So you were wrong, Tom.
How could you? Misery Chastain cannot be dead.
Misery Spirit is still alive.
I don't want her spirit! I want her! And you murdered her!
You don't think he's dead, do you?
And don't even think about anybody coming for you, because I never called them. Nobody knows you're here. And you better hope nothing happens to me. Because if I die, you die. You've been out. Is this what you're looking for? Eventually, you'll come to accept the idea of being here.
Annie, whatever you're thinking about doing, please don't do it. Annie, for God's...
Shh, darling. Trust me.
God's sake.
It's for the best.
That's what we conclude from that.
This is for Stephanie and Jim Leonard, who know why. Boy, do they. It's very ominous. It feels like Annie's written it.
that wasn't even Stephen King as well. That was just some bloke in a bookshop.
Yeah, it's written in. I did. No. My favourite used book story, because apparently I have one, is when I got the autobiography of Montgomery Clift, who was obviously, closeted and struggled with alcoholism. He had a car accident. He had a terrible life. And somebody inscribed in the front, "Dear Will, you thought you had a bad life."
Oh, no.
Imagine getting that as a gift and then reading that.
You thought you had a bad life, mate.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't even his birthday. He was just trying to prove a point. The book is wonderful because you can read Misery's Return as it's written. And it's in.
Can you actually?
Yeah, and all the ends are written in. All the ends are written in. It's a wonderful. It's definitely my favourite King. There are a few slight changes. you can even read a bit of Fast Cars, which is the untitled profane book that he writes. In the book, it's called Fast Cars instead of Untitled. Will, what you love Misery? What was
I do.
Do you remember the first time you saw Misery? Will, have you read the book? Have you read the book?
I haven't. I want to, especially now you've shown that off. Yeah.
I don't believe it's anybody else's fault that you haven't.
Yeah. I had an old tattered thing that the first time I read it, the paperback, and it fell. I read it on holiday, and it literally fell apart in my hands. I was holding single pages.
You were
and then
turning the
slotting them
pages
back in.
that vigorously.
Yeah. And but now I have a lovely hardback, and so I have read it again once, but I don't want to keep reading it because I'm afraid it'll fall apart again.
It'll happen again.
Or you're afraid you'll become the characters.
I'll become Annie Wilkes. Well, I'm close enough already. I dread to think what would happen if I had. Who would be? This is an opening question. Who would be your Paul Sheldon? Who do you think is the one person that if you had trapped with you, you wouldn't go manic, because I don't think any of us are psychotic people. But
speak for yourself.
Yes. But who is the one person if you had trapped? Like, they might get a bit weirded out by how much you know about them and how much you do love their work.
As an immediate one, I can only think it would not to derail the podcast topic, as it were, but Leeds United Football Club's manager I have become very obsessed with over the past 2 years. And I do know more or less everything there is publicly available to know about the man. So yeah, I do fear that if he crashed his car outside my
snowy lodge,
remote lodge, I may not be able to help myself.
Well,
I think it might be Stephen Rees, if I'm allowed to.
Oh, that's true. What if you had both of them?
Yeah. They always travel together.
Who do in the same room.
Who do love this film. I was listening to an interview. Reece Shearsmith yes, he's very much like me when I have my child. He said it was about time my daughter met Annie Wilkes. And just what a wonderful phrasing. And I very much look forward to those days when I go, they're old enough for Misery. I can put Misery on.
To be 3 weeks after.
Yeah, it'll be very. Well, I watched Misery very young because really, there's
and you're reasonably well adjusted.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm okay. Because really, apart from the final, you sick twisted fuck and you cocksucker, there's not really any profanity. Well, no, he writes fuck, but and I guess the hobbling and the extremely violent ending. But apart from that, it's only like Jaws. Anyway.
And when she blasts the police officer's entire body out.
See, I think that's all right. I think that's not too bad for kids, because that's just a guy.
And how? Go on, elaborate on this point.
I don't know where I'm going with this. It's just, in comparison, it's not as bad as
in comparison
the rest
to what?
Of it.
Deliverance. Let's see what the kids are saying. It's YouTube comments time. This is how fangirls feel. Well, yeah, I mean...
That's kind of the entire point.
Yeah. Annie needed a chill pill. That's from Deborah.
You got it, Debs.
Wonder if George R.R. Martin ever watched this movie. Are either of you Game of Thrones people?
I'm a books fan.
Yeah. I always, with TV shows, I usually wait and see if they have a good ending, and so I'm not wasting my time. So and by all accounts, I've heard nothing but bad about it.
The books are very good. They're very well written, although they do labour the point a lot, I will say. They're 800 pages, where if you took the heavy description of food out, you could probably get it down to 400. You know what I mean?
What's the old joke about the book of Les Miserables has like long stretches talking about the sewer systems of Paris, so that you know where he's going when he's taking Marius on his back here. Where do we stand on Bring Him Home? I've never liked Bring Him Home.
I think it's beautiful. It were written for Goldman, wasn't it? Yeah, because he turned up because it was originally a baritone part, wasn't it? And then he turned up and he sang a bit higher. They're like, oh, that sounds all right. Let's write another one.
I've never been a big fan of that, and I've never really been a big fan of Stars.
Oh, Stars is my go-to. My favourite is Empty Chairs. That's the best.
Yeah, I'd say mine's Master of the House.
Master of the House is
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of Javert Suicide.
It's great. It's great.
Of course.
Not the film where they could have got a better dummy. It was just laughable. That flop.
But then again, I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it now because they're changing the theatre, aren't they? But usually it's just he is rolling around the floor in the whirlpool. He's
on the bridge and then he goes, and then he goes, whoa,
and he starts rolling along. It's really bad.
What he's gonna do? They're gonna get him on the dress circle, have him jump into the stall
like Phantom. It's the big thing. Oh, it's like the chandelier. Still great, that chandelier. Keep Phantom as it is. It'll never get old. Kathy Bates' performance was so phenomenal. So glad she won the Oscar for it. Had it been released a year later, she would have had to go head-to-head with Jodie Foster for Silence of the Lambs. And as much as I love Silence of the Lambs, I still think she'd win it hands down.
She would have won. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no argument, and I think Jodie Foster's fantastic in Silence of the Lambs.
I think you could put this...
Sorry, what year were these Oscars?
This was... we will get to... Oh, Sam, we will get to it at the Oscar Travis.
I have heard, but it just as a level of preparation.
It was the 1991 Oscars celebrating the 90 films. It was Dances with Wolves versus Goodfellas. So many parallels between this story and the current social climate that refuses to accept, don't like it, don't watch, read, listen to, play it. I don't know if there's a point in there. I can kind of see a point in there. I just don't
Sounds like it's come straight from Wham Rap.
Give a wham, give a bam, but don't give a damn. I mean, what a song where George Michael and Andrew Ridley originally, in the middle of the 80s dole issues, say, don't get a job, go on the dole. Hey, jerk, you work. This boy's got better things to do. Hey, don't want to be a jerk, get down in the work. I cruise to oh my God. Don't want to be a dirt, get down to the dirt. I choose to cruise. Gonna live my life sharp as a knife. I've found my groove and I just can't lose. Hey, from sounds from head to toe. Cool cat gig, gonna let you know. I'm a soul boy, not a dull boy. Take pleasure in leisure, I believe in joy. Wham, bam.
That's the last time I'm bringing up Wham Rap.
For God's sake.
Wham Rap. Open brackets. Enjoy what you do.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. It's all coming back to me now.
Nothing has changed.
God, I love you, Kathy Bates. Great ass movie. Oscar well deserved.
Oh.
And the notorious James Caan did an excellent job. Since when was James Caan notorious?
Notorious.
There's no bad, famously bad stories about Godfather or Elf. And all the wonderful Thief. Thief is a great film. Everybody should watch Thief.
I like Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs.
Does he play the dad?
That's great. He's the dad, yeah.
Oh.
With the eyebrows.
It's been a while since I've seen that. I remember enjoying them.
It's very good.
When I was growing up in Bakersfield, my favorite thing in all the world was to go to the movies on Saturday afternoons for the chapter plays.
Cliffhangers.
I know that, Mr. Man. They also call them serials. I'm not stupid, you know. Anyway, my favorite was Rocket Man. And once it was a no-brakes chapter. And the bad guys stuck him in a car on a mountain road and knocked him out and welded the doors shut and tore out the brakes and started him to his death. and he woke up and tried to steer and tried to get out, but the car went off a cliff before he could escape, and it crashed and burned, and I was so upset and excited. And the next week, you better believe I was first in line, and they always start with the end of the last week. And there was Rocket Man trying to get out, and here comes the cliff. And just before the car went off the cliff, he jumped free, and all the kids cheered. But I didn't cheer. I stood right up and started shouting, "This isn't what happened last week! Have you all got amnesia? They just cheated us! This isn't fair! He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car!"
Best 10-minute stretch. Will, why don't you kick us off?
Yay. I've got a few. So I got Annie finding out that he's killed Misery into sort of the first escape attempt. That 10-minute stretch. I've got him exploring the house in the wheelchair.
Yeah, first time or second time?
The first time. When he puts the penguin due north, not due south.
Oh. Nice ceramic penguins, always go due south.
I've got the sheriff turning up. Well, all the way from him like working out, going to the library.
Great montage.
Sheriff, yeah. I love that.
Unless you find paper hard. No,
yeah.
Nothing wrong about that. It's, again, we keep talking about this film after film, but it's a bit like the iceberg montage. Even though I've seen this film a million times and I know that shotgun blast is coming, the way that montage is built and the way that we sort of stick with him now, we've sort of been cutting between, but now we stick with him. And it builds and it builds, and he figures it out, and he figures it out, and then, and then you finally get that wonderful barbecue. No, poor Richard Farmer.
And it's not too graphic. And we've got the escape.
I have it in my specific favourite parts because it's so brutal.
It's not that graphic. His entire midriff leaves his body.
You can see Kathy through his chest.
It's like Death Becomes Her.
And then I've got the final sort of fight right at the end.
Yes, I have similar. We need to figure out, Will, whether, because I've got few of those in single minutes. We always differ. Anyway, I think the dinner. The wonderful dinner scene.
The dinner's wonderful.
The dinner was going to be the one I picked.
The true pain of when she knocks the glass over.
Yeah. Do you think she knows? Does she do it deliberately?
No, not at all.
I'd say no.
Oh, can we just forget this ever happened? Oh no.
Because I did only watch this for the first time about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. Yeah. Which is, I think, why I'm on here, because I messaged Tom about it.
And you said that I'd be a great Annie Wilkes.
You would be a great Annie Wilkes. But yeah, no, the gasp that left my body when she knocked over that wine glass. Awful.
And I know that he's in a terrible spot, but he could at least pretend he needs to smile quicker. I know he's completely devastated, but he's giving the game away just a little bit because he's so blank. And he's just... Paul is just so deflated. I mean, I don't blame him, but, we're going to need a candle if we're going to do it right. Oh, Paul. We need to make a list of ringtones I want, and I want, oh, Paul. I want that as a ringtone for any time. I don't have any Pauls, but I'd find a Paul. Yeah, I'd find a Paul just for that, just to say, oh, Paul. I have the final, from the staircase onwards, and when we've got to do it right. We've got to do it right. That wonderful 2 glasses. Oh, and the excitement on her face. I don't know how to explain this, but it's the pain I feel about Annie Wilkes' death. It's weird because she's also a child murderer. If we get rid of the child murderer thing, you genuinely feel really empathy. I feel great empathy for her.
She's murdered children.
Yeah, she may have murdered a lot of children.
Empathy for this quite literal psychopath
but you feel sorry for her when she's the excitement of, oh, I'm going to put up my Liberace records, and that she just has to sit here with her cow, and when I feel really, I've always felt sad for Annie, and when she comes down when she's all depressed, and
which I think
is a sign.
I think sums up some serious character traits between the three of us, which is that you felt sorry for Annie, and me and Will are sat here like, well, she did murder kids.
No, but like the excitement when she's making the dinner and she's done her hair all nice and she's wearing that terrible but okay dress, and she's done it all nice and she's so excited about the spam in her meatloaf. And
have you ever had meatloaf?
No, it sounds bad. It sounds something
awful.
Like something I wouldn't enjoy.
It's an American tradition, right? Meatloaf.
I went to a Rocky Horror shout along in Philadelphia, and it was awkward because there were like 6 people, me included, that knew the shout outs, and everybody else was like, oh yeah, I've never seen it before. And so I was loudly shouting out, slut, asshole, and everyone was like, what the hell is happening? And when they reveal Dead Eddie, I went, meatloaf's ready, and there was the most awkward dead silence I've ever heard in a long time. Because I don't know whether they didn't know that was meatloaf, or
they just didn't know the shouts.
Yeah, it was rather awkward.
Not sensational.
Yeah, it should have been me and the 5 people should have been sat together. Anyway, where was I? 10-minute stretch. The scrapbook night into the hobbling the morning after. Ooh, still gets you that hobble. The single frame of the
every
foot.
time.
And
it must hurt.
Yes, it must hurt. Now, we'll get to this in fun facts, but in the book, she cuts off his leg and cauterizes the wound. Now, that's pretty graphic and pretty horrific, but I think this is far worse. I know that you can recover from this. You can recover from this, obviously. I mean, he's got his little cane at the end. But for somehow this feels worse to me than losing a leg. I don't know. Let's do that. Tom's big question: would you rather have a leg cut off or your feet hobbled?
I think it's a no-brainer.
I'd say that they probably went for hobbling in the film, because in the book, if you're trying to describe hobbling, probably you could. If it was described to you, you'd probably be a bit like, "Oh, that's not nice." But seeing it happen is a lot more of a visceral reaction. Yeah. Whereas, like in the book, like describing cutting off a leg, it's probably easier to. Sorry, it's probably when you're reading it, it's probably easier to be like, "Oh, this is disgusting," as opposed to hobbling.
I think it's something that's just a bit. If she were to cut his leg off at that point in the film, it's just a bit too soon. Because you've got that gradual progression to that final climax of sheer violence.
And the book, you've got more time in the book. The book doesn't. There's no Buster in the book. We stay completely in the house for the entire book. The book has a lot of stuff like the instead of just spilling the soup, she throws it in the corner and then she makes him eat the swill and from the cleaning up the bucket, and there's a lot of just really foul stuff. And I actually think in many ways the film works better in that it's more realistic. In the book, Annie is so villainous, whereas even if you don't wholly agree with me, you can both agree that there is great depth to the character, and there are moments where we have glints of empathy. No matter what we know about the dragon lady, as she is referred to in the wonderful newspaper clipping moment. Let's talk about that wonderful scrapbook now. The efficiency and the craft and the pairing of different articles with pictures of pigs and little pig stickers and beautiful cards and the memory lane just really is emblematic of the character to a wonderful extent. And it's somehow more terrifying than if it was just pictures of dead babies or something.
Well, yeah, because you still... Sorry.
No, shoot.
You still, at a certain point, like, you obviously you are understanding that it's Annie that has killed all these children. She's obviously a complete psychopath. If you didn't know that by that point in the film, you well and truly know it then. But there's also still a moment of, like, well, it doesn't explicitly say it's her. Do you know what I mean? So, like, everybody knows it is. That's the assumption. But there also could be an assumption that she might just be obsessed with it. She might just be completely insane, cutting out these things because she thinks it's, you know, something she wants to emulate or something she also wants to do herself. And I don't know. It's obvious that, you know, that's not what the case is. But I think kind of the non-definable aspect of that is also what makes it so interesting.
I've known from the very first book that Misery had to be born of nobility, and I was right.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul, can I read each chapter when you finish? I can fill in the ends. Will she be her old self now that Ian has dug her out, or will she have amnesia?
Have to wait.
Will she still love him with that special, perfect love?
You'll have to wait.
Not even a hint? Oh, Misery's alive! Misery's alive! Oh, it's so romantic! Oh, this whole house is gonna be filled with romance. I'm gonna put on my Liberace records. You do like Liberace, don't you?
Whenever we played Radio City, who do you think was right there in the front row?
I'm gonna play my records all day long to inspire you. He's my all-time favorite.
Annie. Would you have dinner with me tonight to celebrate Misery's return? I couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, Paul.
So also earlier in the book, we have her dad dying on a plunge. We have then her getting the top medical honours next to top medical student gets thrown off cliff. So she's branching out. She used to just throw people off cliffs. Now she's gone into medical malpractice.
Babies.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm moving on up in the world.
It's proper shipment.
It's full blown. It's full blown shipment. Which is another podcast we have in the works, isn't it? Well, I don't know. Just a good name. That's not like Alan Partridge. Just a name. I don't know what it'd be. Sam, do you have any other? Do you have any other possible nominations for 10-minute stretch?
No, because my go-to was the dinner scene. I would say
you can very much tell that Reiner, as we know because he's said it, but Reiner studied Hitchcock movies for a long time, and you can see that Hitchcockian influence all the way through. The first breakout, let's call it breakout scene of with the trying the hairpin, and and he's all sweating at the end.
The first time I watched Misery, for weeks after, I tried to open doors around the house with a hair clip.
Right, I've got this in change. I'll do it now. I don't know whether it is a change, because they have the throwaway line of, oh, you've written about it, now do it. Oh, that actually works. But the amount of movies where people do this so easily, can people actually open doors with hairpins? Have we ever met, between the three of us, have we ever met anybody who has?
Well, the way a lock and key works is that the pattern of the key matches the pattern of pins in the lock, right?
Yeah.
And then the only way that you're able to turn it is when they're all in place. So I'd have to think that the only way for you to be able to unlock something with a pin is if your pin was the exact same as your key, which would take a lot of extensive kind of like matching up and planning. So in short, I don't believe it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, We don't have a. I always say a movie is allowed at least one coincidence. Because obviously this movie is built upon a rather large coincidence. But if we don't have that coincidence, then we don't have a movie. Such as the same as trying to think of another good example. Sea of Love, as if Al Pacino doesn't then bump back into Ellen Barkin, we don't have the sexual tension and mystery that the rest of the movie is built on. Great movie, Sea of Love. I'd highly recommend.
I say, what the first movie you go to is Sea of Love.
Sea of Love's great. Sea of Love's great. Al Pacino, drunk and sweaty and having sex with Ellen Barkin, and John Goodman is even sweatier and cheating on his wife, and great song and great twist and good. Yeah, he's all boozy. Great movie.
He's all boozy.
He's all boozy. It was his comeback movie after the because in the 80s he did a bunch of theatre, and so it was like, I'm gonna come back with Sea of Love. And that's where we sort of see the new Pacino. It's not the soft-voiced Michael Corleone anymore. We're into, I'm here.
I'll say it as I know this is a tangent, but
right.
I have received some great compliments on my Al Pacino impression at university, which is essentially me doing an impression of you
doing an impression of Al Pacino.
So I have you to thank for that, if I'm being honest.
Thank you. Because you've got early Pacino, which is, in my home, where my children sleep. That's not me, Kay. That's my family. And then you've got later Pacino. You've got Devil's Advocate Pacino everywhere. That wonderful, Heat, the incredible, De Niro going against, ball games, throwing the ball around. Great stuff. I was having coffee with Macaulay an hour ago. Great shouting. Wonderful stuff. Tom's weirdly specific favourite parts of the film. I love the opening ritual. I love the cigarettes, and and also great payoff. It doesn't seem. It's one of those. The best payoffs are when you first time you watch it, you don't think it's going to come into effect later. Yeah. And you watch it, and it makes complete sense. He allows himself one cigarette. How else is he going to light it? He needs a match. Pays off wonderfully.
I said, my sister we were all watching it as a family. My mum's seen it extensive time. She loves anything horror thriller related. But my sister was like, why is there just one cigarette? And I was there like, I bet he only lets himself have one when he finishes every book.
You can see it though, because he's smelling it and he's savouring it, and it's wonderful. I mean, it's one hell of a way to make yourself more productive and help your smoking addiction.
It's positive reinforcement, but at the same time negative.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way, isn't it?
It'd be different if he allows himself like a line of coke after he does finishes the book.
A full packet.
You let yourself have one shoot of heroin every time you finish a novel.
And she's like syringing it up for him.
You shoot crack between your toes, and then you have a glass of Dom Perignon. With the old belts that you used to wear when you walked around with your old copy of your old book, because you didn't trust anybody. The wonderful Richard Farnsworth. I'll put it in our system. It's just a big poster on the wall. I love Annie's pig impression. Another red flag of. I mean, that's a monkey. That's not a pig. I love bitchy Paul Sheldon. After Annie ever does anything, he's always like, well, if I knew this was going to be the surprise, I'd burn all my books. And she's always, you kidder. You.
Because you've got to think that if you're in that situation, say you're a world famous writer, you're essentially being kept hostage by this obvious deranged superfan. I would be doing nothing but sucking up to her, offering her whatever she wants. Like, do you want me to write you into the book? Do you want to you want me to get my arse out? Do you know what I mean? It'd be anything. It'd be anything she wants. I won't be going for these passive-aggressive, offhand comments that could get me, burnt with cigarettes and such.
But I also admire that Annie lets him have a few. She lets him have the middle finger up.
I love that.
Oh, you kidder.
Because I suppose there is also the aspect of she would obviously be so happy to have him around that any sort of his personality traits, his weird, not kinks, but kinks as it were, she'd just be there like, oh, Paul, as she is, obviously.
Well, she says, before this, I only loved the writer side of Paul Sheldon, but now I know I love all of him. Don't say that you love me too. I know you don't. And it's so painful. I don't know how you can not feel and the kid murdering.
I know I left my scrapbook out. I can imagine what you might be thinking of me. But you see, Paul, it's all okay. Last night it came so clear. I realize you just need more time. Eventually you'll come to accept the idea of being here. Paul, do you know about the early days of the Kimberley diamond mines? Do you know what they did to the native workers who stole diamonds? Don't worry, they didn't kill them. That would be like junking a Mercedes just because it had a broken spring. No, if they caught them, they had to make sure they could go on working, but they also had to make sure they could never run away. The operation was called hobbling.
Annie, whatever you're thinking about doing, please don't do it. Annie, for God's...
Shh, darling. Trust me.
For God's sake.
It's for the best.
Annie, please!
Almost done. Just one more. God, I love you.
There's two N's in my favourite nurse's name. Annie. Oh. Little Liberace things, multiple framed Liberace pictures. They're all great. But also, on the fridge, there's a Liberace magnet with him. And these lovely little touches. So if you've got any birthday ideas for me, Liberace magnet. I don't know if they'll... I don't know. I was going to say if they don't know if they still sell them. I don't know if they ever sold them. But anyway, the blowing of the kiss, one of my favourite gifts to use. I love Annie's first review. This all needs to go. You can't have any of this. You, apart from naming the gravedigger after me, that can stay.
Yeah, I love that.
not a beautiful young maiden, the gravedigger, and she doesn't care. She's gravedigger Wilkes.
There's no subtlety either in the cinematic comparison there.
It's just marvelous. The shotgun blast I've got here is one of my favourite little, because I do think it's rather graphic, and the fact that it is just so brutal really drives home the danger of this situation and the violence that we're going to see. And I also love the way that Annie pronounces it Dom Perignon instead of Dom Perignon. Will, you're more general.
Hello.
What's the fun?
I've got... I love how once he crashes, we suddenly just then cut to him with his publisher. And you have no idea when this takes place. Is it afterwards? Is he all right? And then you go back to the crash. I quite like that.
The wonderful Warren Bacall.
Yes. And then we come back the leg reveal when they're all like swollen and veiny.
Oh,
that's a nice shot. Oh, it's not nice, but it's
that's some serious good makeup.
It is,
yeah.
There's one thing I have in changes, which we'll get to later, but other than that very specific thing, they look like his real legs. I mean, obviously he's tucked up. I read that he's under, his legs are under, and then they're fake legs.
Yeah.
But they look completely real. There's not like a bad shot where you're like, you can really, they look rather long. And his midriff is dipped and then he's up again. I think it's rather flawless. Yes, well, as you were.
I like the bit where she's on about, oh, you only made one copy because you thought no one would ever read it. Is that a reference to Stephen King himself?
There are elements of Sheldon. There are elements of King and Sheldon. The N story is from King. He had his first typewriter, didn't have any N's. He's never done an interview where he said that that's based on him though. So you may be right, but may be wrong.
I think I was watching a video of him doing he talking through his books, and he was saying he wrote his first book and he just got fed up, chucked it in the bin, and his wife picked it out of the bin. She was like, you know what, that's quite good. And it was Carrie.
Carrie, yeah.
Yes.
Sensational.
Yeah, no, Carrie.
There you go, Tom. If you want to be successcul, maybe you should just throw everything you've written in the bin.
Yeah.
Maybe if you got a wife and threw things in the bin.
I'm gonna go. Oh, I've written another book. Oh, it's bad. Ooh.
I love the penguin catch.
Yeah, what a catch!
It's great.
It's also the fact that when he puts it back, and
you know straight away.
I know this is the point. I know that's the point. But like, it's the collective audience just, oh no, you know what I mean? Just the sheer panic by everybody watching it.
It's a wonderful film for oh no moments, and it's a great. I love showing this to people. I watched this with somebody who'd never seen it, and she was quite squeamish. And if you are there's lots of great I can't look moments. With the leg, obviously, and the first time she saw the legs themselves, she had to shield her eyes.
Yeah,
lots of great moments. As you were, Will.
And then I've just got in great sounds, like added effects, especially when she's shaving him, and you can hear just the scraping of the bristles on his neck. That's great.
Yes. Do you have any really specific favourite parts of the film, Sam?
I was thinking about this when you sent me the show breakdown yesterday. The one I came up with was, when he's explaining the paper to her and how it smudges, it's the fact that he writes smudge on it. He could have written anything. He could have written anything to prove his point, but he writes smudge, and I don't know why that stayed with me for some reason. I just found it funny, and then he smudges it.
You should have Annie's shit.
Let me out, crazy lady.
Is it
subliminal messaging?
Yeah.
Is it just me that's not allowed specific points to talk about, Tom? Because I've got general. It's Will's general, and then everyone else. You say, you got any specific points?
Because it started with me. I'm always very specific about things, and then you always go like, "I like the bit with the cow," and then. So that's where it started. I mean, it's developed over the years. I was going to say over the years.
In a nutshell, it describes our relationship.
Yeah. I like the spots on the cow. I like that we see the cow in the background and then it's there. And then I like the cow. But as aforementioned, we obviously have Oscar travesty time.
Yes.
Kathy, big winner for Best Actress. I mean, there was no doubt that was going to happen. Go on.
Sorry. It wasn't. The screen wasn't being shared with me, but now it is. So sorry.
Yeah. I think there's no doubt about it. Kathy's going to win. I'd say second place is Meryl. I famously don't like Julia Roberts.
But if you draw yourself out of that, she is very good in Pretty Woman.
She's fine in Pretty Woman. I don't know what it is about her. I've just never understood it. I don't find her funny. I don't find her romantic or sexy or attractive. Or I don't find her charming.
You don't find her attractive in Pretty...
No, I don't. I've never found her attractive.
Maybe I just love Pretty Woman is something I'm realising now.
I've always said I think her best one is Sleeping with the Enemy. I think that is a very good Julia Roberts.
I like Erin Brockovich. I like Closer, but even she ruins Closer because it was supposed to be Cate Blanchett. So even the ones that she's good in, she's thwarted by the fact that she's not Cate Blanchett. The Ocean's movies, she's good in, but still, I watch them and I go, oh, I wish it was somebody else. I don't know what it is. I know it's just me. I
Diane
know it's just
Keaton.
me. Yeah, if it was Diane Keaton, even in the Ocean's movies, she's older, and it's like a cougar thing with George Clooney. I'd watch that. Do we think Misery gets a nomination for Best Picture here? Would we lose Ghost? I think it's definitely better than Ghost.
I'd lose Ghost.
I think you could probably lose. There's definitely an argument to be made there.
The Grifters is not that great, and so definitely get Reiner in for Best Director. The directing of this film is obscenely good.
Can you just?
Yep.
Sorry, can you just hover over the Grifters again?
Yes, it's Annette Bening, John Cusack, and Angelica Houston, which sounds like it's right up my alley.
Do you think it probably got nominated because it was produced by Martin Scorsese and he just
probably
Goodfellas?
But, yeah, I don't know. It's a fine film. It's just not as good as Misery. I think its nominations probably lie with I'd give Annette Bening something. I mean, I'd give Annette Bening something any year. She's great in everything.
Going back to Best Picture, Tom, would you consider knocking out Godfather 3?
No, I'd give it its nomination. I do think it's a good film. I think its biggest problem is that it's not Godfather 1 or Godfather Part 2. And I think Pacino's excellent in it. How he didn't get a nomination for Best Actor, I think that's a bit of a piss in the face.
Also, you've got to think that back then, obviously, they limited themselves to 5 films. If it was now, about 18 films got nominated every year, which
I don't like. It should just be 5. It should just be 5. It's like runners up at like a kids' sports day. It's like, oh, you get a nomination too, and you get a nomination. I understand that it's good for smaller films, but whatever happened to quality? Why don't we just vote for quality again?
Well, I mean, Kindergarten Cop didn't get nominated for.
That's true.
The biggest travesty of all.
The biggest travesty of all time, if we're being truthful.
It did get nominated for Best Foreign Language Film because they couldn't understand Annie. Are we putting James Caan? Are we putting James Caan in for a Best Actor here?
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I think he's very good.
I think I agree.
Who are you going to kick out there? Do you know what I mean?
Well, actually, I'm already kicking out Richard Harris and Gerard Depardieu for Al Pacino and Ray Liotta for Goodfellas, which didn't get a nomination. So, in actuality, I don't think there is any room for James Caan.
I saw fun also a tangential point, but I saw Cyrano de Bergerac on stage with James McAvoy.
Oh, how was it?
And sensational. Like,
fantastic. He was supposed to be going over to New York, but it got COVIDed.
It got
COVIDed.
If it ever comes back, I'd recommend seeing it. And
it's on the showcase now, I believe.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Well then, get yourself down.
Get down there. But what was I going to say? I was going to talk about... Oh, yes, no, because I found it very odd because they just had Cyrano de Bergerac in New York with Peter Dinklage. So I thought, where they made, instead of the long nose, they just, obviously made him a dwarf. And that's why he couldn't get the woman himself. However, the best Cyrano de Bergerac movie is Roxanne with Steve Martin and do we think our boy Willie Goldman, which this whole fortnight is dedicated to, gets a nomination for Best Screenplay?
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a big shame.
Yeah.
Definitely better than The Grifters.
And especially with, because we've already talked about the little adaptations between the book and the film that make it more accessible on the screen. So
has it ever been adapted for the stage?
Yes, well, you're ruining fun facts, Will. You're ruining fun facts. We'll get to it later.
I always do.
I'll turn this camera around. Well, it was originally planned in the 90s for Julia Roberts.
sensational.
But Stephen King said, no, it needs to be, you need to believe that it's a woman that can pick up Paul Sheldon and take him home, and she needs to be big and brawny and rough.
Like how OJ was never given Terminator.
Just like OJ was not believable. This likable, goofy guy was the exact quote that James Cameron said, was not believable as a killer. And that's why he didn't get the Terminator. To
be fair, he's not a fantastic actor, as we saw in Court. So
he can do a good death scene.
He's great in the Naked Guns.
Oh God!
Nat Gilby, Orange, unthawed James Simpson.
James Simpson.
How can we get around to doing a whole podcast on the OJ Court? I'd do it. I love it.
Why don't we just do The People versus OJ Simpson?
Could do. It's a great way in. It's a great way in.
And then just talk about it itself instead of
talk about the actual court trial. Have you watched the wonderful 9-hour documentary about OJ called Made in America?
Oh well, we'll just all watch that and then
it's great.
Reconvene.
Because it's also, so the first 3 hours is his rise in the American football world, but also the racial tensions in America. So so it's also got an hour of context because then it also goes into Rodney King, because people forget that the case became a lot more than just a murder trial. It became a race trial. You know, this was Johnny Cochran's big card, was, you know, this is another black man put on trial wrongly by the LA police, which is obviously a big issue that is still around today. Why OJ had to be the, for lack of a better word, white knight for this, you know, for this parade? Nobody knows.
Especially because looking back, using OJ in that context does not help. Struggle.
It just undermines the whole issue.
And also, you know, there's loads of great people in the documentary, loads of, you know, black rights people saying he didn't want to be black. He famously said, "I'm not black, I'm OJ." He was constantly distancing himself from his own race, and you know, and then suddenly he's.
That's not fantastic.
It's not fantastic.
Maybe O.J. Simpson isn't a great person. This is
yeah. I'm not going to. Well,
hot take.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but when you see him with his nice hair done and he's got his court suit on, and you forget all about
this. This is coming from the guy who says, "Yeah, she may have killed children, but I do feel sorry for her."
Yeah, I don't feel sorry for OJ. OJ, wonderful. Wonderful. Will's favourite building on set?
I mean, there's a lot to choose from. I like the library. You know, if we're gonna stay away from the house, which is a wonderful. We'll go back to the house. It's great, and I like the secret panel. I like a secret panel. The attic. Well, not the attic, but her
upstairs.
Like the upstairs part of the house. I'm good at my terminology. 2 years.
You can't beat her shrine. Her wonderful shrine.
Yeah.
Best wishes, Paul Sheldon.
Yeah.
Just think about that. He was, the thoughts going through his head of, sometime 10 years ago, I autographed, whether it was in person or mailed, I wrote on a picture, and now 15 years later or whatever, I am in this woman's house, trapped for my life.
The medical cabinet, I'd like to give a shout out to. I'm a big fan of the medical cabinet.
Yes. Are you?
And we've already talked about the Liberace magnets.
We have talked about the Liberace magnets.
Extensive.
Best single minute, I'll kick us off. Waking up to that face and that voice, and I'm your biggest fan.
I'm your number one fan.
Incredible. What a way to start. It's not at the start of the film, but what a way to start a film. The soup review, when she spills the soup and she's talking about, oh, do I just go out of a big bastard bag of beef? Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. I don't know why nobody edited. What was the Taylor Swift song called?
Which one?
Look what we made you do. Why did nobody edit that song to Kathy Bates as Annie Wilkes going, "Look what you made me do! Look what you made me do!"
I think it's almost definitely too niche, but that's fantastic. I love that.
All of the video edits I request on this show are always too niche. Sad Anne. I mean, we talked about Sad Annie enough, I think.
To be fair, that bit where she is like, "It's the rain, it gives me the blues." That was one point where I was there like, "Aww."
Yeah. She pulls the gun out.
Children.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that is the painful. I love the rest of Paul Sheldon. Don't tell me you love me. I know you don't. Oh, poor Annie. Will, any other nominations for Best Single Minute?
I've got The Book Burning. I like that.
Everything's
a
in
good
here.
one.
Oh, it's so...
Winthorne.
Because that's another one of those moments where you're like, "No, don't do it, Paul. Paul, don't do it." And then...
Not my misery. Don't you feel really sad for her? I feel... when she's so attached to a fictional character because she has nothing else, and she's screaming, "No, not my misery, not my misery." I feel...
She's screaming that, Tom, because she's a psychopath.
Yes.
Who kills children.
You know, there's all these memes about like, "Oh, I'm so like them," and you know, you don't understand the show when people like idolize Taxi Driver and The Joker and you know, Fight Club. That's me, but with Annie Wilkes. Like, I love Mad Men. I mean, I have a framed picture of John Hamm in Mad Men that's apparently signed next to me at all times. Not at all times, only when I'm writing. And but I understand that Don Draper is a terrible person. But Annie, I forget myself. Sam, any nominations for Best Single Minute?
The Single Minute. Am I just going to rehash the kitchen scene? Maybe I am.
Go for it.
Maybe I am just going to rehash the kitchen scene. It was one that proper stuck with me. Or potentially, it's not the best single minute of the film, but what I love is, you know, when they're looking for the car in the snow and they just don't go far enough the first time. Again, just a brilliant way of building tension.
At the end of that scene, she drives past them. And they're that close to her.
Of course.
So close, but so far.
What a great film.
It's a great film.
It's very good.
Best line. "You want it? You want it? Eat it. Eat it till you choke, you sick, twisted fuck." "I know I left my scrapbook out. I can imagine what you might be thinking of me. But you see, Paul, it's all okay. Last night it came so clear. I realized you just need more time."
I mean, no, it's the infamous, "They didn't get out of the cock-a-doodly car."
"I thought you were good, Paul, but you're not good. You're just another lying old dirty birdie."
Dirty birdie, yeah, that is good.
The specific part in that is my favourite part. "My favourite thing in the world was go to the movies on Saturday afternoons for the chapter plays. Cliffhangers. I know that, Mr. Man. They also called them cereals. I'm not stupid, you know." "Do you all have amnesia?" These are slum kids. I was a slum kid. Everybody talks like that. They do not. What do you think I say when I go to the feed store in town? "Oh, now, Wally, give me a bag of that effing pig feed and 10 pounds of that bitchly cow corn. And the bank, do I tell Mrs. Bollinger? Oh, here's one big bastard of a check. Give me some of your Christing money." Will, have you got any before I continue?
To bring it down on a nicer note, I've got one between the sheriff and his wife. His wife's on the top. She's like, "You need some help," and he's on the floor, and he's like, "No, I'm enjoying myself, thank you." I like that. It's that sort of, it's good. It's better
lovely
than
lovely little moments between the sheriff and his wife. When she's trying to stroke his leg in the car, and he goes, "No, when we're in the car, I'm the sheriff."
For God's sake.
Yes.
God came to me last night and told me your purpose for being here. I'm going to help you write a new book. Misery Chastain cannot be dead. And misery alive. Oh, this whole house is going to be full of romance. Oh, I'm going to go put on my Liberace records, which is my favorite line. Any other best lines? Any other best lines jumping out to us?
And I got a great deal on this 50-pound clunker on account of its missing an N. I told the sales lady N was one of the letters in my favorite writer's name.
It's two of the letters in my favorite nurse's name, Annie.
You fooler. Did I do good?
You did great. There is just one little thing. I can't work on this paper. See, it's carassible bond and it smudges. So I thought maybe if you went back into town, you could bring me some white long-grain Mimeo.
But mine cost the most, so I don't see how it can smudge.
Come here, I'll show you.
Oh, it does smudge after all.
I feel like I did have one, but annoyingly, it may have just escaped me. I mean, I know we have closing line Hall of Fame, so I won't do that. No, I'm sorry. This is really annoying. I feel like I really did have one.
It's all right. What's the change? As I talked about earlier, when Annie hits her head on the typewriter when she falls, it's quite an obvious dummy. It's a good dummy, but you can still just see it. Maybe it's my Blu-ray. Maybe it's because I'm watching it in high definition. But it's a bit more obvious. Also, how do we feel about the writing down of the quote when he's reading it? Is it too... I mean, he needs something to propel it all, but why does that stick to him when he's reading it? Do we need... When he writes down the quote when he's reading Misery's trial in his bed, do we need the throwaway line of, I've heard that somewhere.
I like it. It pays off because that shot when he puts the paper down next to and it's all perfectly square.
No, I know how it pays off.
Makes me very happy.
But I know it is a very yeah, all those Wes Anderson symmetry posting things. But that's just as satisfying when it's perfectly lined. Will, any changes?
I've got a few. By a few, I mean I don't usually have one. Because I rush. I've got the soup. When she spills the soup, it's a different soup that she spills. If you rewatch it,
they're both orange.
No, it's a lovely red tomato soup. And then she spills it, and it's clearly a more orange, different soup. You watch it, Tom.
Is it because she hasn't stirred? Is it because she's currently just stirring it? No, I don't know what it is, but it annoys me. On to my next one. I don't like when he just hides the knife from the mattress and then he says to himself, "See you in the morning." I hate that. There's no need for that. Are you going to say that Castaway is unrealistic now, that he talks to himself the whole film? We wouldn't ever film Will if he didn't talk to himself a little.
Okay. I don't like when she comes in and she's like, "Oh, the rain, it makes me blue." I want to know why. I want like a backstory to how her parents died in the rain, but it feels like there's something needed.
No, there isn't.
I feel like you just misunderstand elemental emotional.
She's just depressed. We have glimpses into it. We know that her parents are dead. We know that she killed her dad for a start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the book, there's the possibility of abusing as well from the father. So there's that element which, we didn't need more tragedy for her. But also we know that her husband's left her, so she's just alone. She doesn't need to have a big... I remember when my dad died in the rain.
Yeah.
Just being on your own, living alone with a cow, and your favourite, the only person you've got in the world is a bloody fictional character. That's enough to make you depressed.
It would absolutely ruin the film if she was like, it's the rain, it gives me the blues.
And we have like a fade into the
I killed my
flashback.
dad when it was raining.
A cow. I felt so sad, and I'd never known such misery. And then, through your books, misery was something I could enjoy again.
Yeah. We just ruin the film wholeheartedly.
Yeah, definitely. I think the little glimpse. Also, I like that we don't have a whole monologue where she's like, "I had to kill those kids. That they were gonna have a great life, and my life's terrible." I like that we just see little glimpses. The little, people. My memory always gets so fuzzy. That's why I couldn't remember things on the witness stand in Denver. I love that throwaway. The fact that that's a throwaway line, and that we don't have a paragraph of, the lawyer tried to fuck me, and
you probably wouldn't like an extensive monologue into how she killed the kids, because then it would make you realise that she is an awful woman, Tom. And
I'd prefer a monologue about how she killed the kids than a fictional monologue about how somebody died in the rain. When it comes to ranking, Sam, any changes?
I don't, if I'm being honest.
No, that's all right. Sam, Will's, anything left from your notes, Will?
What is left?
I don't know. I'll do mine, Will, whilst you're still trying
bit
to
where she's...
read.
Okay.
I love Annie's costumes. They're all so pitch perfectly dull, but eccentric in parts. I love the piss scene. We've not talked about the piss scene where she's talking and looking out the window, and you just think she's talking, and then he finishes pissing, and it's like, I'm done. Wonderful. I don't know how I've never realised this. James Caan is literally playing the exact same role that he does in Elf. He's like a straight-laced character who is put up against an eccentric person who is driving them slowly mad. There are multiple scenes in Elf where he does the exact same expression and anger.
Passive-aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As he does in this. And also, on the VHS rack, there is a VHS for When Harry Met Sally, which obviously is Rob Reiner's other film that he directed. And then in A Few Good Men, one of my favourite little Easter eggs, in A Few Good Men, on Tom Cruise's TV, there are copies of Misery books left over from...
Misery.
It's wonderful. So I always go... Unfortunately, I was doing a Rob Reiner marathon with somebody, and unfortunately we didn't watch them chronologically, and so I went, look, it's Misery, and she went, what? And so yeah, so
and you're like, God, give me something to work with.
Come on. Will, is there anything left from
Yes, I've remembered how to read. Which is the better, You Die, I Die? Because there's that wonderful bit where she's like, you do realise if I die, you die. So is it this or Titanic?
It's this, because in Titanic it's you jump, I jump. It's not...
No, I'm sure he says you die. Leo says it.
He definitely doesn't say to her, if you die, I die. He goes, you jump. She runs back on, and he goes, you're so stupid, Rose. You're so stupid, Rose. You're so stupid. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? And she goes, you jump, I jump, right?
And then he goes,
and then they kiss.
You die, I die.
You die, I die. This is like, well, when you were on the Instagram live quiz, and instead of telling Alice that you were going to kick yourself when you hear the answer, you said, when you hear this answer, you're going to kill yourself.
one of my
Proudest moment.
one of my great appearances.
We've already done a Stephen King movie on the show. We did Shawshank Redemption, but so we discussed this then. But Sam, what would you say is your favourite King on film? Is it The Shining? Is it Shawshank? Is it Stand By Me? Misery? Carrie? I'm not going to list them all.
You're not gonna,
Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
Pet Cemetery. No, it's that joke would have worked really well if I could remember the name of the film about the demon car, which I can't. Christine. There we go. So let's edit this. Ask me the question again, and we'll go from there.
Sam, what's your favourite Stephen King movie?
Well, it has to be Christine. I think there's no comparison.
What's Christine about?
Well, it's about, imagine if you will, that there is...
Shantae. What does that mean? How nice.
That there is a demon car that has been possessed and comes around and attempts to kill teenagers in a lover's lane, and I don't know what happens in the rest of that film. Sorry,
it's all right. It's Christine. It's not terrible.
No, Christine isn't my favourite Stephen King film.
Oh.
Yeah, no film. Yeah, no, it's almost definitely. You can't look past The Shining, can you? Not to be non-controversial.
No, it's all right.
I thought the recent It movies were also very good.
Yes, I thought they were all right too. I thought
I've not seen them.
I thought It 2 was a bit messy and gave me a load of headaches, but
I could probably agree with that. Yeah.
But and it would have been better if it was just a Bill Hader movie, like any movie really.
Yeah. But obviously, also Stand By Me is sensational.
Excellent.
It's a classic. But I think Misery really has to be up there.
It's probably my second. I'd probably. Oh no.
You like Shawshank, don't you?
I'd probably go. I mean, Shawshank is technically my favourite film. I mean, as dull and uncontroversial as it is, it's my favourite film. I could watch it any day, and I do. Literally, it was on Sky. There was like a if you are flicking through Sky and it is any point near the escape, you're just done for half an hour. That's just the next half.
You'll be fine anyway.
Yeah, that's just the next half an hour that you're spent. Yeah. So moving on, a few fun facts. It's time for a few fun facts. Here we go. Yeah. In the credits, Misery the pig herself. Oh yeah.
Is she actually called Misery the pig?
I presume. I don't know. When Kathy Bates picked up her Oscar and made her speech, one thing she said humorously was, "I would like to thank Jimmy Caan and apologise publicly for the ankles."
I would like to thank Jimmy Carr.
I would like to, for great tax advice. Little did we know. It was the 90s. Things were different. OJ was still in movies. James Caan once showed up to set hungover, and all of the scenes he shot the day were unusable. Rob Reiner told Caan he had to do the scenes again because there was a problem at the lab. When Caan learned that it had nothing to do with the labs, he offered to cover the money he lost the studio. So the notorious Jimmy Caan.
No, that's quite fair in the end, because I mean, I'd have thought Reiner would have probably booted off at him. I thought he would think it's unacceptable.
I don't know.
I turned up hungover to my architecture exam performance, and I thought, you know what, let's bump it up a bit. So I dressed myself as a dead body, got some red paint, fake blood, and I lay amongst all of my artwork and had people walk around me, and I got a first. So it does work.
Just so you could have a little sleep. Fantastic. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. I turned up hungover to the filming of Baby Bonnie's in Bed. and nothing went badly with that film.
No. So, which day? Day one or day two? Day two, where we lost one of our stars and had to shoot his feet. Except instead of a grown man's feet, it was now a short woman. Yeah, they're the same feet. After refusing to speak about his motivations and misery for 2 decades, King finally came out and stated that it is indeed about his battle with substance abuse. Kathy Bates's character is a representation of his dependency on drugs and what it did to his body, making him feel alone and separated from everything, while hobbling any attempts he made at escape. In his statement, he said he did not want to come out with it at the time because he was not ready, and because he was afraid it would detract from the story and make people think that it was a big metaphor instead of a simple thriller, which at the end of the day it is. Nicholson was offered Paul Sheldon but turned it down because he didn't want to become known as the king actor, after obviously The Shining.
Also, there's not really much for him to do to be Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, no, he can't give it the whole.
He can't.
I'm gonna bust out of here. Annie Wilkes is Stephen King's favourite written character because she was always surprising to write with unexpected depth and sympathy. I agree, Stephen. Hashtag free Annie Wilkes.
Justice for Annie.
Justice for Annie. Misery was almost turned into a Broadway play with Julia Roberts as Annie Wilkes. King vetoed the idea because Annie, in his words, is a brawny woman who can sling a guy around, not a pixie. Yeah. However, in 2015, a Broadway adaptation was ultimately produced to critical and commercial success, starring Bruce Willis as Paul Sheldon.
Yes.
And Laurie Metcalf.
Willis.
Yeah, Laurie Metcalf as Annie Wilkes. It was his Broadway debut, and for the first couple of weeks, he needed an earpiece because he kept forgetting his lines.
Because he couldn't hear. From all the explosions on the set of Die Hard 4.
Yeah, bad movie.
Bad, a good day to never watch this film.
Yeah. No, that was always 5. That was even worse.
That's the only one.
Was that?
Yeah. 4.0 is bad, and then
Everything
Good Day to Die Hard's
3,
even worse.
Everything after Die Hard with a Vengeance isn't canon.
Which is the one with the helicopter in Russia, and it's pointing straight at him. Yeah, that's always on. That's the only one that's ever on, and it's
it's
so
on Channel
bad.
4 all the time.
Yeah.
Well, you know what you do? Buy a Blu-ray.
Or stream it illegally.
No, because then
we don't.
So what if you then want to watch the special features and be like, "Oh, I want to know how they shot that scene."
Remember how for all those years nobody knew who Misery's real father was, or if they'd ever be reunited? It's all right here. Does she finally marry Ian, or will it be Winthorne? It's all right here.
Paul, you can't!
Why not? I learned it from you.
No, not Misery! Not my Misery! No, not my I'm gonna tell you, you lying cocksucker!
What if I don't have the money to buy all these things on Blu-ray, Tom? Because I'm spending them on drugs and women.
Drugs and women. When I went to Philadelphia, basically the way that my American card worked was that I'd move like blocks of money to the American card, so it would just look like a 200 transaction.
Yeah. And
my mum thought he's taking out lots of money to buy drugs because he's all depressed about his ex leaving him. Oh, when in actuality, I was just buying used books, and I don't know which is more depressing.
Either way, it was because your ex left you.
Yeah.
So, swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts. It's as broad as it's long. James Caan and Kathy Bates clashed over their acting methods. Caan believed in as little rehearsal as possible, but Bates, with her theatre background, was used to practicing a lot. Stephen King had originally planned to release the novel under his pseudonym, Richard Bachman. While writing it, however, it was discovered that King was Bachman, so King subsequently published the novel under his real name and announced that Bachman had died. Do we know what he died from?
How does Misery die, TB?
No, it's cancer of the pseudonym, which I always found very funny.
I thought if he died in the same way Misery did, that would have been fun for me. But no. I also had something funny to say, but I can't remember what.
It's the worst thing that's the worst thing.
Oh no, that was it. It was like Stephen King was going to release it under his pseudonym, but halfway through writing it, we're like, God, this is good. I'm not having that.
He only did 4. He only did 4.
He only wrote 4 books.
Yes, famously. Stephen King, famously not very productive.
It was Misery. He did 2 versions of The Shining and Pet Cemetery. That's it. Christine, sorry, Christine.
And Christine, yeah. Are you ready for these long? This is according to William Goldman. This is the list of people who got offered Paul Sheldon.
Okay, let's have it.
I'm gagging.
I just obviously
one second.
Go on.
One word reactions only.
Oh yeah, no, there's a long list. So Will first, then Sam. Warren Beatty.
Gosh.
Almost too old at the time, but
You make the rules. And then
One word.
De Niro.
We've now gone to noise, not word. Just make a noise.
Sensational.
Michael Douglas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
It can become a bit funny.
It turns into What About Bob? Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
that was just Yoda. Morgan Freeman.
I was disapproving. That was a no.
200. Would there also?
It would be too depressing because he'd be too nice a guy. Whereas you can tell that Paul Sheldon could be a bit of a prick. Yeah. Mel Gibson talking about famous dicks.
I mean, yeah, if we can excuse the anti-Semitic hate speech, which of course we can't.
Which I would, because you feel sad for him.
Yeah, this is the point that it came down to. You can excuse Annie being
child murderer.
Being a child murderer. Could you excuse her being a racist? A homophobe? I don't think we could.
Well, we didn't get through the rest of the memory lane. She might have had a KKK members pass later in the book.
Yeah, she might have been really down with a Jim Crow.
Hey, you want it? You want it? Eat it! Eat it to yourself, you sick, twisted fuck!
Gene Hackman.
Yes, please.
Dustin Hoffman.
No.
No.
Alternatively, yes.
Yeah. William Hurt twice. Says here.
just to get the death ranking up there. Yeah. I need more.
It's just Reiner going back and being like, "Come on, I'll clean your car."
Kevin Kline, again, not Pacino. I'd watch that. I'm gonna write this book. This is my masterpiece.
Misery. They're slum kids. I was a slum kid. That's
I talk like a. This crazy bitch has got me trapped.
Drink this cup of wine now.
Yeah. Hi, you dropped the wine. He'd just give it away there. Go.
Lick it off the table, Annie. Yeah.
The paper smudges. Robert Redford, again, is he too nice?
He is.
He is. However, I thought Robert Redford would have almost been perfect for this because I feel he could have really got into character.
I think this was the period also where William Goldman and Robert Redford were having arguments because Redford was making out like he wrote All the President's Men, which isn't true. And he later admitted it isn't true. Denzel.
Ooh. I would watch that.
Yeah,
but it's young.
Denzel.
It's young Denzel. It's 1990.
Denzel.
I think we need a more haggard,
an older man.
Yeah. And Bruce Willis, who obviously went on to play it later, but all of whom declined. The big not complaint, but was basically people, they didn't want to be overpowered by the character of Annie Wilkes, and they've missed out on incredible roles. Jessica Lange and Barbara Streisand for Annie Wilkes. I can see
no.
Jessica Lange, maybe.
Could you imagine Streisand? Jeez.
She writes the song for the film.
Yeah, she's just la la la.
Misery. It's just memory, but misery.
Misery.
My
all
cow.
alone in North Dakota. I don't. Where is she? Where's this? It's filmed in Nevada, actually. I know
It turns into West Virginia. Just goes into a different song. So, also in the book, King has Paul pretend to burn Misery's Return, and at the end, he goes on to see it published.
I'll say this: how can you pretend to burn?
I don't know. I can't remember. Also, yeah, no, he has him chop off Paul's foot and cauterize the stump. Ugh.
Grim.
Also, at one screening, Stephen King was enjoying himself so much that he yelled, "Watch out, she's got a gun!" during the film's climax. Which might be one of the favourite things I've read in a while.
Stephen King getting really happy about his own.
Oh, watch out! In the original idea for the novel, Annie planned to kill Paul by feeding him to Misery the pig and then take his skin to bind the book he had written. The title would have been called The Annie Wilkes First Edition. That's taking it too far, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a bit. I mean, feeding into the pig.
That works.
I like that.
Character, but
The book
I mean,
binding.
would she skin him?
She wouldn't skin her, yeah.
Kathy Bates was reportedly disappointed that a scene was cut in which she kills a young police officer by rolling over him repeatedly with a lawnmower. Director Rob Reiner was afraid that the audience would laugh at it. I agree. What the hell? Where does that scene? What?
I agree, but I want to see it.
Yeah,
Wait, so
why not?
She'd kill a policeman by lawn mowing him.
To death.
A close shave.
Yeah, how would that work? She couldn't get it. Imagine her when she kills the police officer. Instead of shooting him, she just drives her lawnmower at him and has to go headfirst down the cellar stairs herself.
Turns into a wacky Looney Tune comic.
Yeah.
What's Rob Reiner's best film? We've talked about a bunch. The only one that we're going to talk about Princess Bride as our next episode. We've also got A Few Good Men to talk about, but what we're thinking, is it When Harry Met Sally? Is it this? Is it Stand By Me?
For me, it's
This is Spinal Tap.
This is Spinal Tap is also excellent. I think I might have to go with Harry Met Sally. I think you may have to go with Harry Met Sally.
It might be this. I'm just looking down his filmography, as it were. It may truly be this.
Yeah, it's a great film. Did Annie have to die? Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Here's the thing I've always thought. Is the Higher Education of J. Philip Stone, is that the book that he burned, that he wrote all again, or is it a completely new, different book? I've always wondered this.
I'd think
Would
it's
it be too
probably a
painful to
different
return
book.
to that book?
Yeah, because him returning to the one he wrote under duress is...
Is the book that he burned not The Misery where he killed her off?
No, he burns Fast Cars, or Untitled in this, which is the profane one.
Right.
And then she buys and brings home Misery's Child.
Ah, so it's already been published.
Yeah, because she comes home with it and she's like, "Look what I got."
Yeah.
Have you always thought they're the same book, Will?
I've never seen Misery, I'll be honest.
After the dinner scene, does he start collecting pills again? Why doesn't he start just collecting pills again and ask for another dinner?
Yeah.
It's not like she's going to go,
No, because
"No, you've had your dinner."
He goes straight for the knife after that, but I suppose by this point he's realised she's killed many children.
Yeah,
and so she's more of a threat than he thought.
Does he think that the knife's... she's never going to notice the knife?
No, but I think he plans to do it quite quickly, right? So like the next day.
Yeah.
So.
Because she comes and injects him, and he doesn't see that coming. So.
Yeah, that is true.
Eek. Synopsis of a sequel. I mean, there isn't a possibility. Kathy's back. Annie's back.
Yeah.
Kathy's back. Not Annie. Kathy Bates.
Kathy. No, yeah, Annie comes back in a supernatural form.
Yeah. And it's
like a revenant.
Oh, very good. Closing line Hall of Fame. Are you Paul Sheldon? I'm your biggest fan.
I'm your #1 fan. Yeah, sensational.
It's very sweet of you. And then the wonderful Liberace takes us home with I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in all the familiar places.
Yeah, one of definitely up there in Closing Line Hall of Fame. Do you have a definitive ranking of the ones you've already done?
We don't.
We don't. It sort of came and went. Because some are so bad. Some are just like... La La Land famously is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because he's counting in the band.
Yeah.
It's one of those. But this is very good. So, Sam, it's been a pleasure having you. Any final thoughts on
Misery?
Misery.
I'm extremely glad it got made. Is what I'll say. I'm extremely glad it got made. I think it's a sensational film.
Will, any final thoughts on Misery?
Sorry. And
oh, sorry, Sam. I cut you off.
I believe the shock factor throughout makes it a fantastic first view, and it definitely has rewatchability.
Yeah, and the fact that all of those shocks still work, and the fact that you still think he's going to get out, and think all that tension still works so beautifully and brilliantly. It's truly excellent. Will, any final thoughts on Misery?
One of my favourite films of all time. Brilliant. I like it a lot. And I think, where would you put this Best Actress ranking in all ever winners? I'd put it very much up there.
Well, in my article, which you can find on the blog, the Carruthers, Leggetter and whoever blog, you can find that Kathy Bates is one of my 3 choices for the 90s. I can't remember whether I cheated and put her in the 80s or not. Can't remember. That would be a lie. That would be a complete cheat. It'd be more than
straight up lie. Yeah.
My favourite performance of the 40s was Heath Ledger in The Joker. No, Sam, it's been a pleasure having you. I do believe we are having you on again after William Goldman fortnight to talk about one of our favourite movie musicals, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So it'll be a pleasure seeing you then.
Cannot wait for that. Personally,
and neither can I. It's a great film. So, boys, we'll see you cock-a-doodie next time.
Dabba 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 da da ba 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 ba.